Well, we are on the rolling lap for the 5th heat race of the day, the opening OK Junior heat. And a little bit of consternation at the start, and that is the number 2 kart I can see in front of me that you've just seen on your screen, and that is Morgan Porter, who will not take the start. The rest of the field will go around again. So Luke Preston has had an issue in the M Sport machine, and another one of the M Sport entries. Morgan Porter is also out. And of course, one or two of the mechanics involved trying to get to that kart, and they're not allowed. So we're left with Chris Lulham and Joseph Taylor on the front row. Or are we? Where is Chris Lulham? So Chris Lulham has not gone out either. We are left, therefore, with Joseph Taylor and Sean Butcher on the front row. Shihab Al-Habsi is there in 3rd. And Jamie Day is 4th because Porter is not there either. Then it's Luca Griggs, Daniel Butterworth, Cameron Coombs, Suleiman Zanfari, Enzo Schianti, Loris Caribou, Klaas Koika, and Angus Mooresdale. They are the only drivers of the 15 in the race. We have lost 3 before the start. And here we go. Lights are out. Taylor and Butcher, no, they're not out. The false start flags have gone out again. Now, that could be because the start was too quick, or it could be because the driver that is supposed to start on pole wasn't the first across the line. But then again, the driver that's supposed to start on pole isn't even on the circuit. So you can forgive Sean Butcher and Joseph Taylor a little bit for a tiny bit of confusion. Now, I have to admit that I didn't see whether Lulham was on the grid at all, or whether, oh yes, he was on the grid, because I can see that parked neatly against the barriers the outside of the second hairpin is the number 20 Piers Sexton Racing kart. And the reigning European Junior X30 champion, Chris Lulham, will not start this one. And of course, this year's European X30 Championship is still to conclude. It's 1 round to go. Angus Mooresdale is involved in that, and so is Lulham, and so is Sean Butcher. And that will conclude at Castelletto, again on Telemundi Media in September. And finally, we're off and running. So the surviving Junior OK Junior drivers all make it under the bridge and out onto the banking for the first time. And when you consider that Joseph Taylor last year, who leads this race, he is just, I believe, or 12 years old in a few months, and these karts are properly quick karts. We'll compare their lap times to the other junior classes, and they're a couple of seconds a lap quicker than the Rotax and X30. But it's the characteristics of the kart as well that are very different indeed. The back end just dances around in them all the time, and they do require an awful lot of control, which is why they are the CIK's approved class for the World Junior Karting Championships. And will one of these drivers on our screen now become World Junior Champion this year? Well, if it's that driver there, number 34, then Oman will have its first ever World Karting Champion, Shihab Al-Habsi, who is up into 2nd place and is not beyond the realms of possibility, because Shihab, I've seen him race a couple of times. The first time was at Salbris in France. I think it was his first time in the European X30 Championship, and he was on the podium. And he has certainly proved that that is no fluke. Taylor leads. Then it is Al-Habsi. Then it's Sean Butcher, and I have to say that Sean Butcher is extremely impressive as well, because he was a good cadet driver and then took 2 years out of the sport and only came back into it this season. I think needed to re-find his love for going round and round in circles. But obviously he did, and his dad, Glenn, who I will call Sean. Well, I won't call him Sean. I'll call him Sean's dad, because we were talking about how no one calls the dads by their first names. Oh, you're Sean's dad. You lose all identity. You just become the driver's father and chief budget giver. But Glenn watching on, and he's watching Sean, who are based in London, but part Australian, moving into second place in the number 57 kart, that famous number 57 in karting, Martin Hines Zip kart number. Well, Luke Hines as well, but it's Butcher now trying to chase down Joseph Taylor. So, Taylor into the Mike Wilson complex. Then it is these three karts on screen battling away. It is Butcher, followed by Al Habsi and Jamie Day. And Jamie Day, who I said earlier, spent a lot of time back and forth from Dubai to the UK. And although the karting scene in Dubai is growing, and the circuit out the Dubai International Autodrome is a fine venue that has hosted the Rotax World Finals on a couple of occasions, obviously the strength in depth out there is not as good as it is in the UK. And Jamie Day, who has raced in cadets quite a few times over here and now into junior, is that practice is really paying off, because he is up in the top four. And oh, there's a mix up there at the Fullerton S's, and karts going every which way but loose. And that is Klaas Kuiker in the black and white Thule Motorsport machine, moving up a few places. The leaders, meanwhile, have cleared off. There's Kuiker, and he's got a warning flag for Luca Griggs. He's got one of the Fusion drivers behind him. That is Suleiman Zanfari, and so that's the Moroccan driver. And there's Suleiman, and of course there is a Moroccan European champion in OK Junior, I believe. I can't remember the driver's name, but Suleiman Zanfari showing that there's a good number of Moroccan youngsters coming through, but they're the leaders going through the Fullerton S's. Now back to this battle, and it may be for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th. Effectively, it's, you know, at the back of that group is the French driver Loris Caribou in 13th and last place of the 13 karts that are still running. We did get Luke Preston out. I thought that we'd lost Luke Preston, but he did make it out. And there's Kuiker, and here is the battle for second place. Al Habsi and Butcher, but the leader is about to come off the bridge. There's the battle for second. Now Al Habsi is going to be under pressure from Butcher. He wasn't as quick off the bridge there. Will we see Butcher dive to the inside? No, we don't. And Joseph Taylor now over a second in front. Closing in on this battle for second place is Jamie Day. And behind them, there is a big gap to the number 89 kart of Cameron Coombs. So 698 Racing represented in the junior OK class as well. And Coombs up at the fourth. Then another gap behind Coombs to Suleiman Zanfari. And Zanfari has got Kuiker, Griggs, Moolsdale, Enzo Schianti, Luke Preston, Daniel Butterworth, and then Loris Caribou. And look at the lead that Joseph Taylor has got. 4 minutes to go. Taylor comfortably in front. Under the bridge, you can see Chris Lullum in the foreground there at the Marshall post with his crash helmet on, watching this. And I bet he's thinking to himself, well, not the best way I wanted to start the weekend, but on the bright side, my tyres will at least have a little bit of life left in them, more than the others. And that's the worry, that when you get to a class that does eat tyres, and there's a dozen or so drivers, over the course of a long weekend, you start seeing people, oh, I'm not going to go out for this one to save my tyres, and then one does it, and then two does it, and then suddenly you've got 3 karts on track. And that, whilst it's not against the rules, it certainly detracts from the the spectacle because, you know, you're here to race. So get out there and race. And of course the driver will say, no, we're here to win. Well, yes, you are. But anyway, that's just me being old school. And somebody going old school over the grass blocks there. That, I think, was kind of Coombs having... Cameron Coombs having a bit of a moment coming out of the final corner. And he drops from what was a very, very impressive 5th position down to a slightly less impressive 12th. Make that 13th as Joseph Taylor. There's the battle. That's the Fusion drivers in there. Angus Moolsdale is at the back of that group. You can see with the blue crash hump. Moolsdale moves at the inside of Klaas Kuijke. And so drivers really moving up and down the order quite a bit as the karts kind of come on and go off a little bit. You have to really manage a race distance. Even a 10-minute race with these OK engines, you can't just get out there and go flat out for 10 minutes because suddenly something might go pop. And last year, the Grand Prix, it was a fantastic tactical battle as drivers were speeding up and slowing down and trying to get the best out of their karts at the end. And Oliver Hodgson was saying that you've really got to manage a race like no other class of kart he's ever driven. And it's going to be the same, a similar situation for these juniors. So we're asking these juniors to be far more, far more mentally aware of what's going on with their equipment, not just what's going on the track. And so Joseph Taylor, he's putting in a best middle sector of the race so far. And he's 1.5 seconds in front of this battle between the 34 of Shihab Al-Habsi, the 57 of Sean Butcher, and just behind them, the 24 of Jamie Day. On to the start, finish straight we go. 1 minute remains. There's the Fullerton kart of Taylor. There's Al-Habsi, and Al-Habsi just holding off Butcher. But Butcher is beginning to wind things up. Taylor takes another fastest lap, 58.17. Will Butcher look to the inside? There he goes. Al-Habsi, though, late on the brakes. Misses the apex, and that's the risk you run. Al-Habsi, though, cuts back across. Butcher does the crossover mover. Butcher makes the pass into hairpin number 2. Gets the kart stopped on the apex. Al-Habsi can't cut back underneath him. 30 seconds remaining. There'll be one more lap to go at the end of this one, I believe. Well, it's going to be close. Let's see. Taylor is coming across the start-finish line about 2 seconds in front of what you're looking at on the screen. We've got 10 seconds. So easily, Taylor beats the clock. Next time round, it'll be the last lap board. And here comes Jamie Day now to have a little nibble around the rear bumper of Shihab Al-Habsi's kart. But Al-Habsi holds him off for third. Day really enjoying a strong run here. And that will be keeping the large contingent of supporters from the United Arab Emirates who are visiting here this weekend happy. Can he pick off his fellow driver from the Middle East, Al-Habsi from Oman? No one's going to catch this driver. Joseph Taylor on your screens now. Through the Mike Wilson complex goes the driver of number 27. That Jade Run, Fullerton chassis. Across the line, Butcher will take second. Behind the... Nope, last lap board goes out. To apologise. Doesn't matter, they're still not going to catch him. He's 2 seconds at the road. Off turn number 4, down towards hairpin number 1. Get that mistake out the way early, Henry. Bound to a weekend with 50 plus races. I'm bound to mess up the finishing order or the finishing lap of one of them. So early doors, get it out the way. Taylor comes through the Fullerton S's. Butcher and Al-Habsi are separated by less than half a second. But Joseph Taylor will begin his bid for Kart Masters glory with a win in OK Junior. There goes the checkered flag. waved with customary panache from the start line official here at Trent Valley Kart Club. The rest of the field crossed the line with Al Habsi second, Jamie Day in third. So what happened to Sean Butcher? He has not appeared on my screen. And Sean Butcher has stopped. There is the 57 car, inches from the line. I didn't see that happen. Oh dear. So on the last corner, virtually, Butcher fails to finish. Luke Preston 11th, Daniel Butterworth 10th, Loris Caribou, the Frenchman, 9th, Enzo Schianti, the American, 8th, then Klaus Kuiker 7th, Angus Mooresdale 6th. Top 5 result for Suleiman Zanfari, with Taylor, Al Habsi, Day, and Luca Griggs, the top 4. And there will now be a, so Cameron Coombs, we also lost, and there will now be a bit of a clean-up operation before race number 6. Race number 6 will be the Cadet Army race, and there's,